Glass is a new film directed by M. Night Shyamalan. This is the third film in what's known as the East Rail 177 trilogy, the other films including Unbreakable and Split, two movies that I absolutely love. And in this film, following the conclusion of Split, Mr. Glass finds David Dunn pursuing Kevin Wendell Crumb's superhuman figure of the Beast in a series of escalating encounters. While all this is occurring, Elijah Price emerges as someone who holds secrets critical to both of these people. Not only was this a film that I was really looking forward to in 2019, this is probably one of my most anticipated movies ever. I love Unbreakable, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Split I also really liked. I'm a huge fan of M. Night Shyamalan, and given that this film was 19 years in the making, I was really interested to see how he was going to conclude this story. And this movie has a lot of good things to offer. First of all, James McAvoy is unbelievable. He's probably the best thing about this movie. He pulls off even more personalities in this film than he did in Split, and what he's able to capture on screen through his performance is just mind-blowing. I just love how he's such an unpredictable character. You have no idea what's going to happen next, and that's why you're so glued to the screen while you're watching him. It's fantastic to see Samuel L. Jackson back as Mr. Glass or Elijah Price. This is actually one of my favorite movie characters in history, and he's just as good in this movie. They kept a lot of the best parts of his character, like how he's an evil genius and he's also kind of a crazy person. And one of the best things about the film is his interplay with James McAvoy. Their chemistry together is so good, and it makes the film really entertaining. In my opinion, Bruce Willis here is the best he's been since Looper. He did not phone it in here. It felt like he really cared about giving a good performance and bringing this character back. It's similar to how I felt about Harrison Ford's performance in Blade Runner 2049. He did a really good job at resurrecting that character after so much time had passed, and I thought Bruce Willis did a good job. Anya Taylor-Joy wasn't in this film a lot, but for the moment she is on screen, I really liked what they did with her character. She has a lot of really emotional moments with her and James McAvoy, and I won't get into spoilers with that, but I just like that the film made that connection. It made both of their characters a little deeper. If you've seen any of the trailers for this movie, you're probably already expecting this, but this is a gorgeously shot movie. M. Night Shyamalan does a really interesting thing where he utilizes color and lighting to tell his story, and it makes the film beautiful to look at. I love the cinematography, minus the fact that there is kind of an overabundance of first-person shots, and sometimes it's really effective, but they just use it a lot, and it kind of got on my nerves a little bit. Despite that, the film has so many amazing shots that have just been burnt into my memory. There's this one where Elijah's in this hospital room and he's in the dark and someone shines a flashlight through his hair. There's another shot where Hedwig is on roller skates and he goes around the room in a circle and the camera follows him around, and it looks amazing. This is a very well shot and well directed movie from start to finish. Shyamalan is clearly a guy who knows what he's doing behind the camera. The film's story is interesting because Sarah Paulson's character is someone who specializes in a study of people who think they're superheroes. And so she tracks down all three of these characters and brings them to a hospital, and she tries to convince all three of them that their superhuman abilities are just things that have been built up in their minds, and that they're just like regular humans in everyday life. And that's not really what I thought this movie was going to do, but I found a lot of those sequences riveting. The first half of this movie I thought was really interesting. I love what it did with its characters, and the story really had me hooked. But the third act of this film just really let me down. The finale of this movie just felt really messy, and it didn't know what it wanted to do with its characters. And I'm struggling to understand why this is the conclusion that M. Night wanted for this trilogy, because the film starts off really strong, but then it just feels like it doesn't know where it's going. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the film goes in a certain direction, and it tries to set up this huge climax in the third act, and then it completely ditches that idea and goes for something else entirely. So, to me, I just didn't get that. I don't understand why they made such a big deal out of setting up this sequence if it's not going to happen. And what we ended up getting was a climax that felt really thrown together, in my opinion, and I thought it dragged on for far too long. Let's talk about Sam Jackson for a second. Like I said, I really loved his character in the movie. I thought he gave a great performance. But in the third act, his lines of dialogue get really bad. And he tries to do this thing where he's like winking to the audience almost, and he's telling them everything that's going on while it happens. And I thought it got really annoying. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Elijah Price as a character or Sam Jackson's performance. It's just the writing for his dialogue gets really weak. Also, with Bruce Willis as David Dunn, unfortunately, the movie doesn't really give him a lot to do. He feels really underutilized. He feels like such an insignificant part of the movie's story when compared to the other characters. And I thought he had a lot less screen time than I wanted him to have. And there's all these shades of greatness whenever he is on screen. Like, his first appearance in this movie is mind-blowing. but then they just don't do enough with his character. Sarah Paulson in this movie, I was kind of on and off with. In the first half, I thought she was really interesting in the way she's conducting this study on mentally deranged people. I thought that was really fascinating. But as you get farther into the movie, you learn a lot more about her character. And I was just really turned off by her motivation. And I thought the writing got really lazy. They set up something with her character that just felt so rushed, and it just didn't work for me. There's some connections in the third act of this film that relate back to Unbreakable and Split. Some things that you didn't know before that the movie reveals for you. This is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to get into it here. But what I will say about it is that I liked some of the connections they made, and I thought they were really interesting. But it's just the way they were implemented felt so messy. That's the thing about this movie that really let me down. The third act felt like such a rushed, messy, thrown together conclusion. And I just wish that wasn't the case. It's easier for a film to come back from a messy first act or second act, but when the third act of your film completely goes off the rails like this movie does, it's hard to come back from that. Overall, I thought Glass was a really frustrating movie, and by that I mean there's a lot of things that I thought were really great and that I can't praise enough, but there's a lot of things that really didn't work for me. The performances from all three of the main actors are really great. The film looks beautiful, it's really well shot and really well directed, and I thought the story was riveting up until the first half, but then it kind of slowed down, and then it turned into a disaster of a third act. For this film being 19 years in the making, and a sequel to two films that I absolutely adore, I just don't get why Shyamalan wanted this to be the final act of the trilogy. I'm going to give Glass a 6 out of 10. That is my honest grade. I have seen the film twice now, so I really have been able to solidify my thoughts on the film. And while the film does have a lot to love, for this being one of my most anticipated movies of all time, I was kind of disappointed in it. Guys, thank you all so much for watching this review. I greatly appreciate it. Have you seen Glass? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Also, what's your favorite and least favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie? I will be working on my most anticipated films of 2019 video later this month. I'll also be reviewing The Lego Movie 2 and How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World very soon, so you can look forward to those. Also be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.